beloved. So speaking on behalf of other young fathers this morning, first I want to thank Calvin for going before me and mentioning the 3 to 5 minutes. I checked back my message from Europe. I actually thought I had to prepare a message for 35 minutes, but I cut it down. But no, in all seriousness, first, it would be remiss of me not to stand here this morning and say, this is the most people I've seen in James Street for Father's Day for a very, very long time. So listen, that is a win, all right? All right, so I think it was, what am I supposed to talk about again? The first time I held my daughter and how it changed my perspective on life. So I guess just provide a little context here first. I got married a very long time ago, right? A very long time ago. August will be 28 years that we've been married. So I got married at 23 years old. I mean, at 23 years old, I was absolutely convinced, and my wife was 21, so she was clearly misguided as a youth. But, but at 23, I was absolutely convinced that I had life figured out. Like, you can tell me that I didn't have life figured out because I was taking a decision, a lifelong decision, a lifelong contract to be married at 23 years old. So I had a certain level of responsibility as persons who are in this church may know me. I think I approached life in a hurry. So I left home at 19 and never quite returned. But then our daughter came along at 24, when I was 24 years old. So just about a little less than 18 months, about 15 months after we got married, our first daughter was born, Danielle. And I realized in that moment that I really didn't know a lot about life. I realized in that moment that I had a lot of learning to do. And I'm going to say something I probably shouldn't say in a church setting among good Christian people. But I also realized in that moment that there was absolutely nothing that I wouldn't do for this girl. Nothing was off the table as it relates to me and this child that I was holding. Not only did nothing else matter in life all of a sudden, and notwithstanding the fact that I had a wife, but this child now became the very center of my universe, and there was nothing that I would do to protect this girl from life. Even as I was trying to figure out life as a young man, I realized I had to figure out life as a young man for this child as well. And the other thing I should tell you is when I saw Danielle for the first time, when I held her, Danielle had both of her fists clenched. And she had a defiant look on her face, which in many respects she hasn't lost in any way up to this morning when I spoke to her. She was ready to take on the world. Like, she was here and the world was going to make space for her in it, and my world was going to make space in it. And again, you know, I read somewhere recently that it's been scientifically proven that our brains actually don't finish forming until we're around 25 years old. So, you know, outside the fact I was 2 years ahead of my wife and my brain being complete, still, the two of us also were figuring out how to live together and then how to raise a child. And so, I'm looking at our young fathers here this morning, and I'm like just incredibly blessed to witness this, to be part of it. And I suppose my advice to you, would be a whole new chapter in your life is about to open up, right? And I'm seeing the pride and absolute joy on your faces, and hold on to that. And there are going to be many, many, many moments where you are going to feel even more proud of your babies. And there are going to be moments of severe pain as well. But it's only going to be painful because of how you feel for this child. The other thing I want to say is that almost 1 year later, 13 months later, we had our second child, Dominique. And in having two girls, two children really, one of the things that I learned that's changed my perspective on life really is that two people could be born to the same two people and grow up in the same house and be treated the same way and even be clothed in the same clothes and be vastly different in every way. Like cardinal points on the compass. Vastly different. That's, and I think every parent, I see a lot of parents here smiling and nodding who've had two girls. Mom Burgess is certainly agreeing with me, and I won't comment on why she's agreeing with me, but I think I agree with you. But no, seriously, and so now, when I remember I told you I thought I had it figured out at 23. And then at 24, I realized I had some more learning to do, but all right, we had a second one coming. But that's all right, because I already started this learning process for the first one. Yeah, not quite. Because it's a brand new learning process for the second one as well. You understand? You with me, Alicia? It's a brand new learning process. And don't attempt, look, I read somewhere, if two people have the same ideas, the same opinions, the same viewpoints on everything in life, one of them is not necessary. So if I got somebody that always agreeing with me, you're probably not necessary in my life. Which is why I hang out with David. I don't know what he's necessary. Because he's always wrong. But in all seriousness, you have to start learning again for the second one. So again, that having Dominique now also broadened my view on life. Not just in raising these two children, but how I approach people. We say it all the time, but I don't think a lot of people believe it. People are different. People are really, really very, very different. And attempting to treat everybody the same way is a guaranteed recipe for failure and hurt and disaster and disappointment. So, life will change for you young men. It will. And you will have a fabulous, fabulous journey with these children. And the other point I want to make is that be present. I was blessed that my father was very, very present in my life. And on that note, and this is the last point I'm going to make here, the people who raised you, your parents, are not the same people who are going to raise or be present with your children. They change. I don't know why they change or how they change, but grandparents become completely different people. So I'll give you a classic example, and this is a true story. So I remember vividly as a child playing drafts with my father constantly. We played checkers all the time. And he would beat me unmercifully, right? Constantly. There was no, again, so much so that I've been known in some circles to be a little competitive, right? Depending on who you ask, a little. So I remember to this day, the day that I beat my father for the first time in drafts. I ran in the house, we were playing in the drafts. I ran in the house and I told my mother, I just beat Daddy in drafts. And it was just an amazing feeling. Fast forward, more than a few years. And my father, you know, may he continue to rest in peace, would pick up all girls from school, from Charles F. Broome. And Dee and I, you know, would go out to Map Hill to pick them up. And I remember driving into Map Hill one evening. Dad had picked up the girls. And Danielle, wearing her, you know, little Charles F. Broome uniform, running out to me. And she said, I just beat Granddaddy in drafts. And I said, pardon? She said, I just beat Granddaddy in drafts. I just beat Granddaddy in drafts in 2 games. And I said, you just beat my father in drafts? And she said, yeah, yeah. And he walked in the house and he said, did Daniel just beat you in drafts? And he just smiled. He just looked at me and smiled. I thought to myself, well, I thought a number of things in my head, none of which I can repeat here. But I literally had to go into therapy because of how he treated me playing drafts. And here he was, clearly allowing my daughter to beat him in drafts. It's a different perspective they have on the children. So I'm telling you now, don't feel aware if your parents appear to be very different all of a sudden. They're just hardwired that way. That's just the way it is. But listen, again, in closing, I would say I could almost chart my life in different phases, and a brand new chapter, maybe a whole new book opened the very first day I was blessed to have one daughter, and then another chapter opened all over again when I was blessed to be a father a second time. And so my advice to you really is just be absolutely present. You're not going to agree with everything, but be present for your children all the way through. And make sure that, you know, I think we all need a North Star in this life. And by virtue of the fact that you're sitting in a church right now, I'm going to assume that God is who you want to be your North Star. He has served me and my family well. He has never disappointed us. He has always been there for us. And moments when I just absolutely could not figure out the next step, he has literally taken up my family and taken us forward each and every step, each and every moment of the way. So it is my prayer this morning that you will be blessed with a beautiful, beautiful family, that you will be present for your children, and that your life will change in absolutely wonderful, blessed, and beautiful ways from this day and for always. Blessings on you, my friends, and blessings to all our fathers. Thank you.